Robbie D and the lesser knowns.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Robbie D and the Lesser Knowns. I am your expert host, Robbie D. Thank you. And with me, as always, is Producer Will.
Hello.
Guys, welcome to Season 1 All-Star Show. We're coming to you live from inside of our editing suite. It's kind of live. It's live right now as we're doing it.
Live-ish.
But we are in the suite. Boom. This is where we come to edit some of the shows after we have our guests, and basically I just take out everything Producer Will says.
Hurtful, but accurate.
It's true. Season 1 All-Star Show. Why are we having one? Well, it's because we're getting ready to launch Season 2. And we're excited to announce Season 2 is going to have video.
HD, baby.
Oh, spare no expense here at Robbie D.
No, none.
So we're very excited to announce we have video. We're excited to announce all new guests, all new adventures, and all new stories of them navigating the entertainment industry here in Los Angeles. So, before one can move forward, one must remember and then forget their past. So this episode here, we're going to look back at some of our favorite moments from Season 1, the Season 1 All-Stars. What are those moments, Will? Well, perhaps they are mimes.
Mimes. Fast cars.
Ooh, injuries.
Vampires.
Confused sexuality.
2 different stories.
Oh boy. Redemption.
Opening a business.
Ooh. Celebrities. Hello.
Oh. Auditions gone bad.
Being true to oneself.
And most importantly, supermodels doing geography.
Boom. We practiced doing that at the same time and it worked.
7th time.
About that. Anywho, what do those stories mean? No spoilers here, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, enjoy episode Season 1 All-Stars. Show. First up, Tim Stoltenberg tells us about being a mime. But I'm even more excited to hear about when you played a mime.
Yeah, so
In
many
short
of the people...
film, The Adventure.
Yeah, many people don't because it's just radio, but I am very good with physical gestures in comedy.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine was like, hey man, I'm shooting this short film and I want to mime and I think you'd be great and I want to work with you. And I was like, I'd love to, Mike. It'd be fun. So we shoot outside of Atlanta in this old reservoir and it's a 2-day shoot and the first day we're there and it's like early morning, like just dawn and the production crew is gathering around and the mist is settling over Atlanta as it moves through the south. And from the mist comes this janitor emptying the garbage cans. And he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And the person's like, we're shooting a short film. We have the permits. If you need to see them, we'll be on this area, and whatever. And he's like, all right. And then before he leaves, he turns around and he goes, well, just look out for those gays. And walked back into the mist. And we all look at each other like, what a dick. Who says that? Like, come on, man. This is 2000 whatever. The South, this is never going to change, you know. So we all like looked around and be like, no, sorry. Everybody's apologizing to everybody, like, sorry. So then the day goes on and I'm in mind makeup and we finish the morning and they're like, all right, Tim, you're going to drive down like a mile down this road and you're going to see a turn. Just turn in there and wait and we'll come get you and walk you to the next location.
Did you have like a mime outfit? Like
I did. Classic mime. The stripes, tight pants, the beret, the gloves. So I'm in my car and I drive down and I see the turn. So I go in and it's a small parking lot. And there's like cars at every other stall. So I pull in and I'm sitting there just going over the script. And this car pulls up next to me. And this dude rolls down his window and he's like, hey. And I'm assuming he's from the shoot. So I do a little like mime, like tip of the hat and like, goofy eyes. And he looks at me and he goes, what are you doing? So I decide, like it's lunchtime, right? So I mime eating a banana to him. Like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And the look in his eyes was like, what the fuck? And I'm sitting there and we're looking at each other and obviously we don't know each other and there's a misconnection. And then I look in my rearview mirror and I see other men getting out of their cars and going into the passenger side of cars. And then like I can hear the janitor's voice in the back of my head, look out for the gays, the gays, the gays. And I'm like, what? And then I put it together. Oh, this is a hookup spot. This is where you go, you park your car, you can meet other dudes and have your experience. And then I look at him and it clicks and I realize like, oh no, I'm not. And I felt so bad because I'm like, I bet this guy thought he hit the jackpot. He's like, dude, I met a mime today at the hookup spot. It was amazing. And like, in that moment, I just slowly roll up my window and back out and pull out because I was just like, I don't know what to say. Like, ah. And then I finally pull out and there's a guy in the road. He's like, what are you doing, Tim? And I'm like, ah. And he's like, you got to go down this way. But I felt so bad because I felt like I ruined this guy's like fantasy experience, you know?
You really teased him.
That's the thing. Like if I were him, I'm sitting in the parking lot and a car pulls up. We all know why you're here, right? You're here because you want to meet a dude and hook up. And this guy's dressed like a fucking mime. Like this is gonna get wild.
Banana, right?
Oh my god.
That banana.
Yeah.
I mean, but did you ever think about the perspective of the producer? Saw you pulling out of the parking lot. Was like, fucking Tim just getting a blowjob before we film it, pervert.
You know, actors are actors. Everybody's got needs, and like, you know,
Hey, where's Tim at? We need him on set. Oh, he's in the parking lot.
I'll be back.
All right.
20 minutes. It was just, and like, I was flattered for a moment, and also like I felt very like guilt because I feel guilty about a lot of things of like that's not my fault, and I felt bad for him that like I was there, and then like I'm like no, just kidding, and ran away.
More importantly, how'd the movie turn out?
Really good. It was a lot of fun, a great experience. There is this picture, I wish I had it. It's me sitting in the back of the equipment truck, dressed as a mime. I think I was smoking a cigarette, and someone took it in black and white, and I wish I had it because it's such a cool picture. I just wish I had it.
Well, you're in luck. We have a surprise for you.
No,
We'll
no,
bring it up. Bring it
no.
up. Do it.
It's that guy from the parking lot.
Next, Oliver Morton takes us all the way back to 2004.
Yeah, this was 2000 and I think this was late 04. I was in between basketball gigs. I had an apartment here in West LA with a good friend of mine. And on Tuesday mornings in Santa Monica, we would a bunch of NBA guys and overseas guys would get together and play. And there were usually really good runs, and it was just good for, you know, keeping your game honed and all that stuff. So I was playing in this, and I caught an elbow right over my eye, and the tissue exploded. It wasn't a laceration; the tissue actually exploded. It was pretty gruesome. It wasn't fun. One of my good buddies took me to a plastic surgeon. Thank goodness this happened here in LA, where there's some good people to sew you up. I'm not a handsome guy, but we don't want zipper ties up on our forehead. So I got sewed up, and there was some nerve damage. So the plastic surgeon recommended that I do not play basketball for 6 months because I could lose some eyesight possibly. Therefore, I didn't play basketball for 6 months, and I was here in LA and had money problems again because money goes fast out here if you don't know. So I had one of my best friends actually from Tennessee, I played basketball with, and he had a job in New Orleans. So I decided to go there and kind of help him out a little bit and let my face recover. And 3 months into that, he comes home and says, they're casting a basketball movie here, and I'm going to the audition. I didn't know if you wanted to. I said, sure. I didn't ask the name of the film. I didn't ask the name of the production. Didn't ask anything. I just went. There was literally thousands of people at this open call in New Orleans. And the name of this movie was Glory Road, which was a pretty big basketball movie. It was a Bruckheimer production. I think the budget was $55 million. And so we started, you start, this process was they wanted to see if you could play basketball first. So obviously my basketball wasn't an issue. So they took me straight out of like the first audition and threw me into some callbacks for one of the main characters. And I read, and then they brought me in for a director's read, which was really cool. I've never done this, mind you. I've never been through any kind of audition process.
Never auditioned once.
No, never been through an audition process at all, ever, at any point. So obviously I was doing something right because they kept bringing me back. I think I read 5 times. And I did not get the main part on the Texas Western team. They brought a guy in that was a seasoned actor. So, but I did get two cool things. I got to be on 2 different teams in that movie. Actually, 3. I was on the Iowa team first. This is a SAG job, so they're paying you pretty good money to rehearse and to shoot. And then they bumped me from the Iowa team and put me on the Final Four team with the Kansas team, which is a more prominent place, as well as a high school all-star game where I got to interact with Josh Lucas, which was the star of the film. So that was all inspiring to me because this is what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. So basketball actually brought me that opportunity, and the elbow to the face brought me that opportunity, because if I did not get injured, I would not have been in New Orleans. I would not have met the casting director, and I would not have met a good friend of mine named Mike Fisher, which I have done some work for ever since. So that has been a 12-year relationship that came out of that movie.
So while you were lying on the floor in the gym, bleeding, saying, "Oh me, oh my," little did you know ahead lay your first big success.
Correct. To correct you, I wasn't lying on the floor. I actually didn't fall down, but blood was gushing out of my
you
forehead.
were standing
inside the wall. Because remember, his eye exploded him backwards.
Yeah, I was actually standing, blood was gushing, and I was not happy because I knew 2 things. It wasn't good because of the amount of blood coming out of my body, so you start having negative thoughts. Going to New Orleans, I thought I was going to be working and not doing what I wanted to do, which was acting, but it turned into one of the biggest projects that I could ever imagine doing. So I worked on that for, I think, 3 months, and that's where I got Taft-Hartley, and I got my SAG card off that job. My very first gig, I got my SAG card.
Nice.
That is very unusual.
Next, Kayla Ewell tells us a little bit about Vampire Diaries. I want to go back. I want to talk about your most popular show,
The Vampire Diaries.
The Vampire Diaries.
That show was so much fun to do. I made some of the best friends I've ever had in my life who are still my best friends. One was in my wedding. I mean, we're talking like life friends, which was so much fun, but it also made my experience on the show so much more heartbreaking.
Who was in your wedding?
Candace King. And then Nina Dobrev and I lived together while we were in Atlanta. So I picked up, and once I booked the show, I picked up my whole life and moved to Atlanta, which was so much fun because it was a group of young, inspiring, artistic individuals who were so committed and so excited to be together and be a part of this show that had so much buzz. We really were like a family. And one day I showed up to set for a table read and found out they were killing me off the show. And it was devastating. I was so heartbroken, and 23 at the time, which is a lot to handle at that time in your life. And yeah, it felt like it was finally my turn to experience success, because it'd been years and years of, like you said, guest stars and recurrings and one-offs and, a stint on the soap opera. And I just worked so hard to have success. And so it was finally felt like, oh, this is my turn. And so I packed everything up, went to Atlanta, had someone living in my house in LA, and had it all worked out. And then suddenly, with one phone call from the producers, everything changes. And I had to do the big move back home, which was tough. And so the show went on without me and was so successful. I mean, Entertainment Weekly covers, Teen Choice Awards, all this stuff all the time. And I was just no longer a part of it. And it was so hard. And I think the hardest part, too, was being so close with the actors still. They were some of my closest friends. So their day-to-day life is, hearing about this show that I feel so heartbroken about. So it was such a push-pull and a really trying time in my life. But I truly think I'm a better person for going through that and see the industry and from a different perspective and have that life experience under my belt now. But I moved back home to LA, which was hard enough as it is, telling all my friends, yeah, I'm not on the show anymore. They killed me. I'm back to square one, going back into the room, back to auditions. And then a few weeks later, found out my mom had breast cancer, which was just, a complete, it's hard to even talk about, loss of words. My mom is fine. I want to specify she fought it, and she is 100% the biggest warrior and the most amazing woman. But at that time in my life, the silver lining to it was that I was home to take care of her and help her through this time in her life. But I really went from the top of the top to the lowest of lows. And fell back into a deep depression and had to climb my way out of that. So I think that's what's hard about being an actor is it's a roller coaster. You are on the top of the roller coaster and then so quickly you can just be at the bottom again. And you have to have a strong sense of community around you to keep you solid. I think of a chair with 4 legs, and if one leg falls, you can still sit in the chair. So that's sort of what I've tried to have in my life now is people around me and a strong enough sense of family and community that when this happens again, because it happens to all of us all the time, that you are still grounded and still solid no matter what. Because I know so many actors. For every actor that has been on a show, they've tested and been close to and been on hold for hundreds of jobs before that. And it's our job to get close, but man, does it wear you down. It is tough. You have to really love this art. And I think that's what makes it great is that it does get rid of the people who just want to be here to be famous, because it does take such a toll on you that you have to love the art of it to keep doing it.
Next, Corey Landis tells us about his callback experience from a major TV show.
Then I got called back, and I was petrified.
What was that callback experience like?
Well, I think of it like being shot out of a cannon. You know, it's a high pressure sort of situation where you're kind of like lining up on the gangplank in this narrow hallway with all these other guys who are vying for the same part. And I honestly thought that I was screwed right off the bat, because one of the guys I was competing with for the part was in Dead Poets Society with Kurtwood. He played one of the major roles in the movie and had red hair. So I was like, well, I don't even know why I'm here. He already knows the guy, and he already looks the part. So I thought this was just a waste of time. So you're lining up with all these guys, and you just one after another, they go in and they leave, they go in and they leave, and you just get closer and closer and closer, and then you go into the room, and it's just this wall of people. And everybody's very friendly because they want to put you at ease, but it doesn't really help that much because you're just so nervous. And it was a small room, just all of these eyes, all of these faces, and I just did what I did in the audition and left, and just thought, well, that was a nice experience, but I was fully convinced that there was no way that I got it. I was, like I said, I was very nervous. I don't know if that came through or whether I was just able to mask it, but yeah. And then I got the call that I got the part, so I was obviously quite elated. I did 2 episodes of that show, and I did not work again for 7 years.
7
years. And in that time, I barely had auditions. And yeah, I did not work again for 7 years.
I want to say it one more time just so you get it. 7 years.
7 years.
No acting work whatsoever.
No acting work.
Yet you still stuck.
7 years. Yeah, and the funny thing was when I left Ohio University, the head of the School of Theater, very smart, experienced guy, and I was doing my sort of farewell tour, just saying bye to everybody before I left, and went to his office, and he said, he said 2 things to me. I won't say the one because it involves people. But the other thing that he said was, be prepared that you're not going to work for 7 years.
He said that?
Yes. He said that to me. He said, just so you know, when you get there, you're not going to work for 7 years.
He was right, but wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, at the time when I was listening to him, I thought, well, yeah, I mean, that's other people, but, not me. I mean, 7 years, that's other people, but, I'm special, that's not going to be the case.
You were in Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah, right. So when I did the 70s show, it was just obviously this great experience where I went to the taping. My stuff was pre-shot, so I didn't actually perform with the cast in front of the audience, but they showed my scenes on the screen and they captured the reaction from the audience. But I went to the taping, and it was just great. It was just so much fun, get to experience that moment. I did a curtain call with the cast and just had this great high of an evening. And, up to that point, probably the best night of my life. And I just remember the next day, I had to set my alarm for 4:30 and walk across the street to unlock the doors at Psychobabble and start making the coffee. And the feeling, the soul-crushing feeling of that morning was unlike anything I had prepared myself for or could have prepared myself for. I was so shocked at the pain of what that felt like to have that great evening the night before and then just get flushed through the toilet of life back into your terrible, terrible existence once again. It was just it was a night and day yin yang smack in the face of awfulness. That was a very, very rough morning.
Next, David Douglas tells us about his experience on the set of Fast and the Furious.
But it was. So I get to the set and it's really, it's nerve wracking. You don't know, like I said, you don't know who to sit with for lunch. So what? Diesel, Walker, Rodriguez, like coming off of Girl Fight, good old Ja Rule. I was in the hotel room and they kept shooting over schedule, so I would get another day. And that happened like 3 days in a row. So I was just like, that's awesome. Like, hey, I'm not, please. Yeah. Ka-ching. Yeah. So, did the scene and Rob didn't tell me a whole lot of stuff to do. He's just like, okay, they're going to drag you, they're going to tow you. We're going like 35 miles an hour and you're losing. I need a reaction that you lost. I need something in between when it's like, and I didn't know what he wanted. He just said, it was basically just go. And that was it. I think he gave me a couple takes. He gave me a couple, some direction. Did it. Okay, moving on. And I was just like, oh, that's the worst. Especially like, I was young. That was the worst. To not be told that I did a good job or that I hit the mark, that I did what he wanted to do. I was insane. I think I was there one more day. I called my acting teacher like in tears. Like, I don't know what the fuck, man. Like, I don't know anything. I think I just fucked myself. There's just the highs and lows were so extreme.
But eventually you wound up costing the movie $30,000.
Oh yeah. You want me to tell that one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So like during the scene, there's a part where I'm improvising, right? I'm just like making shit up, pulling shit out of my ass. And there's a part where I'm racing against Rodriguez, and I do this like dun dun dun, another one bites the dust, da. Still feels uncomfortable.
It's good though. It's solid. I get it.
No, so go to the premiere. Premieres at Universal Studios. Great premiere, big premiere. Bill Paxton sitting behind me. I think Diesel and Walker are in the row right in front of me with Rob, and before we went in, one of the assistants, one of the crew came up to me and said, "Yeah, you know that little improv thing that you did, the Queen." And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, we had to call Brian May and buy the rights for $30,000. I'm like, oh, fuck. I wanted to run over to Rob and like apologize. Like, don't say a fucking thing to Rob.
The improv moment worked though, didn't it?
I mean, I think it did its thing.
It might have kept you in the final cut.
It might have. They paid it. They thought it was worth it. They could have cut it out. And
save $30,000.
Yeah, it's more than I was making that year.
It was a good moment.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time.
It's funny because I've seen that movie 1,000 times. I bet you there's tons of listeners who have seen that so many times, but they didn't notice that. Bah, bah, bah. Another one buys $30K in the bank.
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy to spend money. It's just so easy.
If you want to make a movie, it's like there's $30K.
That's $30K, man. Like, yeah, I learned something, I think, from that. But I don't know. Yeah, it was a moment. You got to fill it up with something. So
Katie Upton tells us what was going through her head on stage during the Miss Teen USA pageant.
No. It was a great experience. All the girls were amazing, though. I honestly didn't even think that I would make top 5, and I did. I remember on that stage during our swimsuit, whenever I made top 15, that was the swimsuit division, and I had to hit one of the giant blown up volleyballs, and I just wanted to show how athletic I was. So I nailed the living crap out of it.
You can say shit.
You can
I can say shit.
Yeah,
All right.
fuck.
Okay.
You're good.
I nailed the living shit out of that ball. You have no idea. And I was like, yeah, feeling it. And then I made top 5. And I gave my first answer, which nobody heard, by the way, except for the people in the freaking audience. I mean, you guys did hear it. You just don't remember it because that second answer that I gave is the YouTube sensation one.
So the first answer you gave was televised.
Yeah, the first answer I gave was televised.
What was the question?
I don't remember.
What did you say?
I don't remember.
But it was good.
It was really good. I saw my points. I saw my score. I had 95, and the closest girl next to me had 85 points. And I was like, I'm clearly going to win. I've never done a freaking pageant before, really. And I didn't anticipate a second question. I was literally standing there and I was just like, this is such a cool experience. Like, I can't believe I got this far. And Mario Lopez is standing next to me talking. And then that Amy girl who's giving the question is talking. And I'm like, this is cool. These celebrities are real. Because that was the first time I ever really saw a real celebrity like that in person. I was like, I didn't think you existed. So yeah, I'm just standing there like, oh, this is cool. And then they both turn and look at me and I'm like, oh, wait, that was for me? I was like, oh, shit. Okay, so I kind of go back, pull a couple of words that I thought she might have mentioned, and I was like, and everywhere, like, such as, and whatever countries I named.
I'm gonna guess. I think you said map a couple of times.
Probably, I believe it.
Because she said map and you just said map.
Map. Probably, yep, just repeating her. Sounds good to me.
Iran.
Everywhere,
No,
like
it was US.
Iraq, South Africa. South Africa was one of them, too.
South Africa, such as, oh God, that's such good
It
stuff.
was amazing. It was amazingness.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, if someone asked me a question, I didn't hear anything they said, and I answered the question, which is basically what you did, I feel like you did a really good job.
I mean, I do too, because I'm sitting here
If I plugged
with all my accomplishments I've had from it.
If I plugged my ears and you asked me a question, I just had to answer it. I feel like I wouldn't do as good a job.
No, I think you would have definitely done better.
Let's try it.
I think you would have done a
Let's
better
try
job.
it. I'm gonna plug my ears right now
Okay, plug your ears.
and ask me a question. Go.
Okay, where is the moon?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to just say that I feel like family values are important when it comes to this topic. You have to understand how many times families struggle with money, and everybody's problems are different.
That's perfect.
I miss Texas.
I love it.
Okay, so to be honest, I didn't hear your question. What was it?
Where is the moon?
Where's the moon?
Yeah, where's the It's very
Boy, howdy. If I'm being completely honest,
Actually, I think that was a really good answer.
I thought it was pretty good. Next, Annie Serdich tells us a bad audition story.
I had an audition for the Laughing Cow Cheese spokesperson. So who ended up getting it is not me, spoiler alert, and she's great. She's a great actress and she's very funny, and she's on a show, or was on a Disney show, I believe. So she was great. My experience was with My Choice. You had to tell a funny, quirky story, and then you had to say the tagline. Have you laughed today? Which is the tagline for Laughing Cow Cheese. So just tell a funny story that's your personality, that's light. You know, you had to wear something in your personality, casual, cute. So we went in, I think, 3 at a time. Maybe 1 at a time. First girl, or the girls were talking about what stories they were going to say. Like, I got a special soy latte, like, in the morning. And I was like, where is it? And I drove to work with it on my top of my car the entire time. Have you laughed today? And another girl was like, I was like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And the friend was like, Denise, it's in your hand. And I was like, oh my God. Have you laughed today? And I was like, okay, so in college, I worked at this like fish joint, and this guy, and we were like the youngest people that worked at this fish joint, like I worked around people that were like, really a lot older. And one guy, he had like a bob haircut, but he was really cute. And I took him back to my house. Not that I did that all the time. And I took it back to my house afterwards. And like, we were like getting it on. I lived in this like, sort of this like Peter Brady attic. I don't know, so I was like living in this attic, and it was like Ohio and stuff, and, getting it on. Not that I did that all the time. And he was like, hey, do you want to do it? And I'm like, well, do you have a condom? Not that that's me, do you have a condom? And he was said like, no, I don't. And I go, okay, maybe next time. And he's like, oh, there won't be a next time. Have you laughed today? And the entire room was like, what is wrong with this woman? And I looked at their faces, and I wasn't sure if I was shit. What I felt was hot shit coming out of my butt, or if I was like, is this where I just like launch myself out of some window? I looked at them, and I don't know that they knew what to do. And then I was like, thank you so much. Thank you. And they were like, thanks. That's another one. Cried in my car. Cried, I think, longer than 2 days. What part of my brain thought that would be a quirky, funny story?
I think it's fucking hilarious. It's quirky. They just didn't know what the hell the kind of gold they had in front of them right there. That's all I'm saying.
I think you did too good of a job.
I think so too. For a national cheese commercial where you tell a a sexual story about like, to me, it was like, I wasn't slutty. I really was being safe. And, no, they didn't want that at all. Have you laughed today? Oh, can I have a little extra cheese on the way out? Thanks so much, guys.
Next, Mindy Sterling tells us how she became Frau Farbissina. So then you got into Groundlings, and that's when your career took off.
Well, because I met Mike Myers, because we were doing an improv show, and Julie Sweeney was on Saturday Night Live with him. And
she did Pat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And brought him to do the Cooking with Gas show, which is done every Thursday night at the Groundlings. And so I met him, and he thought I was funny, and I thought he was funny, and so he did it a couple of times, and then we just kind of really respected one another's work, and that led to my auditioning for Frau.
Nice.
Yeah.
Frau.
Those films still have a lifespan. I'm so grateful.
I loved all three of them, and I still feel like they're probably going to try and do a fourth one somewhere because the way things are going nowadays. Maybe. Well, here's my question for you. We all know Frau Farbissina. Oh, the audience might not know. Frau Farbissina, hilarious character in all three Austin Powers movies. My question is more actor specific. Was the yelling improvised or was that scripted?
When I yell things, well, I think in the script it just maybe said shouts.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's how I yell.
I feel like that was something you did just like in a take when you were messing around and they're like, holy shit, that's funny.
No, I'm pretty sure, you probably have to ask Mike or Jay. Maybe I'll ask them if I run into them. But I'm sure it said she shouts or, capital letters, which is meaning shouts.
Yeah.
And there are things, like send in so what am I going to go? Send in the clone. No, I'm going to go, send in the clone. And I have a very specific, high-pitched, annoying sound when I yell.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
I do have one more question. The unstrapping of the glove when you're talking about your partner, Unibrow.
That was given to I did not do that on my own.
Man.
I'm pretty sure that was like, try to do that.
I could just see you sitting there messing around. You're just like,
no, I think that was given to me, and the beautiful Mary Jo Smith played my lover, the Unibrow.
This is my LPGA tour, Unibrow.
Yeah.
And last one. There's no way the Lucky Charm stuff was scripted.
No, I did that.
You did that, all right. I knew
Well,
one of them would get in there. Thank
because
God.
I remember going to at the audition, and I don't remember what the lines were exactly and stuff. And then Jay Roach had said, "Okay, so let's just improvise that, and have fun with it." And so that's, I think, where I came up with, it's like candy and the little marshmallows and there's the candy and the sweet and the kids they don't know it's something good for them, or I don't even remember
it's
what I
fun.
said.
I'm having fun. It's candy.
Yes, it's candy. All these good. It's cavities. Of course, now I can think of 1,000 things to do with it. But yes, I did play with that.
Yes, and then the look afterward, and everybody was staring at you, and you're just like all
Yes.
sullen.
Well, I think that was beautifully edited.
It was it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
you still had to give that fantastic look for them
Yes.
to edit in there, and I just thought that was.
Yes.
I still
really fun.
never forget your single, like that little
Yeah.
hair strand right on your forehead. It's
Yes,
amazing.
and then by my ears.
So,
The
the
those-
little loop. 'cause
Yes.
After I get out the pool, my hair's kind of long and curly.
Yeah.
I get some of those too. So I've done the Frau look after the shower.
My favorite was when they go back in time, and you see the younger version of number 2, which is
Rob Lowe.
Rob
Rob
Lowe,
Lowe.
and I stay the same.
Yeah, I remember that. It's so
That made
great.
me laugh.
'Cause
I
you
mean,
Wow, you look so right.
It's just, but it was brilliantly, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just so brilliant. So yeah.
Next, Raul Lewis tells us about a bad experience he had with a heckler. That's so.
The only one time I had a really good comeback, and it wasn't really that mean with the guy. It's like, next, and I'm like, who's sucking dicks back there? Some stupid shit.
The guy was
Suck
yelling.
dicks in your own time, sir.
The guy was yelling next.
Yeah.
While you're on stage.
Yeah.
What a fucking asshole. Were you doing good?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he was right. But I was in Canoga Park. There's this girl that I really liked. She was a comedian. I'm not going to say her name, but she invites me to the show, and I'm trying to get that, right? But it's out in Canoga Park, and I go, and she goes, "Come on out to the show if you want to do some." And a lot of times when you're with a lesser, well, not as popular comedian, you end up doing crappy shows if you follow them around, and you're like, I thought I was past this. But she was hot, so I followed her in the show. And it was at this biker bar when I get there, and it's a biker bar, and they're playing the jukebox, and they're playing like "Sweet Home Alabama," like all, and they're a guy like we're like, "Hey, are you gonna turn down for the show? Are you gonna turn down the jukebox?" And they're like, "No." So they keep playing the jukebox, and then big comedians going up there to do this open mic. And then the guys look pissed that they're like doing a comedy show, because when you do a comedy show when they're not expecting it, people hate that.
Yeah.
And then the MC's not friendly to the comedians. He's like, this next guy, he might suck, so just he's like not supportive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but let's just grin and bear it, guys. And he's saying stuff like that, and we're like, oh God. I go up there and I'm feeling kind of like weird, because I'm like, oh man, these guys are like hell, like the Hell's Angels looking dudes, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know about this. And I was like, I told her, hey, I'm gonna get out of here. She's like, no, you gotta go, you gotta do comedy wherever and whenever. If you can make them laugh, you can make. I'm like, but they're tearing everybody apart.
Yeah.
And these guys are white, right? So I'm thinking, I got no chance. So, I go up there, and I'm already nervous. And the MC goes, "All right, guys, this is how he introduced me. All right, guys, don't start no shit."
Oh shit!
I'm like, oh God. And I go up there and I don't get like maybe 2 minutes, and the guys like, move it along, get out of here. And then I'm like, hey, you guys might want to turn down the jukebox, because you could hear some of these guys go, fuck you. Like they're not even. And I'm like, hey, but, and, like, and then I do one joke, and the guy goes, that sucked. I had just said my name, and they already started heckling me. You guys, that sucked. And then I'm so nervous, I'm throwing off my game. I'm like, shit, because I hope I can make it out of here. So there's a stupid heckler retort where you go, hey, I don't come down to the alley and slap the dicks out of your mouth, when you were like, don't mess with me and my job, right? It's stupid. Like, I never even use this thing. But I'm so nervous. I go, hey, guy, I don't come down the alley and suck your dick. So the guy goes, he yelled out, get off this. Then he goes, huh? Like the whole audience goes, what the fuck? The audience simultaneously gave me a like, what the fuck? Look, right? And then he goes, and then he starts, instead of saying get off the stage, now he's like, get off the stage, faggot. And so I go, hey, wait a minute, no. I may not be funny, but I'm not gay. So I start defending my gayness. And they go, get off the stage. And so I just put the mic and I get off. I can't take it, and I jump off stage. And then the MC comes in and goes, what the hell was that? I think that guy just came out the closet. What the hell? And I get out. I don't try to hug her. She tries to hug me. I just go, no, I gotta go. And I just dart out of the club. And people were like applauding as I'm leaving. And I get in the truck. And we get in my car and I'm driving home. And I remember thinking to myself, it starts raining. It's like you couldn't couldn't be in the movie. It starts raining. I'm like, what the hell was that, Raw? What are you? Oh God! I drive home. And I don't even get on my bed. I sleep on this floor next to my bed, curl up in the fetal position, like, oh, God. That was awful. Anyway, that almost made me quit.
So did you seal the deal with that chick?
No.
Next, Jolene K tells us about her experience being cut out of a TV show. Let's talk about these.
Great. Where would you like to start?
I would like to start with Scandal.
Yeah, Scandal was fun, and that was a huge credit for me, and I like talking about that show because I had booked 2 episodes, the second of which involved a big storyline about I was a Secret Service agent who was working for the bad guy, who I believe was the vice president at the time. And anyway, I got to walk into the Oval Office and give the president, who was played by Tony Goldwyn, I got to give him this ultimatum, tell him he had to declare war on West Angola within 48 hours, or we kill the love of his life, all this stuff. And we had shot it. I got cast, and we shot this episode, and they'd even talked about maybe more episodes down the line. I was so excited, told everyone about it. You don't want to know how many times I talked to my mom about how this is it and it's happening and oh my God. And then I will give the casting of that show huge credit because they called me personally just to say, hey, it happens on Scandal. It's not about you. You did nothing wrong, but they are going to cut that storyline entirely. And I'd like to think I handled it very graciously, or at least I did over the phone. But I remember putting the phone down very slowly, and then my body went down to the ground just as slowly. And I stayed there for a very, very long time, trying to accept that. And I wasn't proactive about telling people that that had happened and I had been cut. So then when the calls started coming, like, hey, it's been a while. When's your episode going to air? It was like, oh, man, you might want to cancel the viewing party. I don't know. I can't talk about it. I'm sorry. It's still too painful.
It only takes one cutout to make you never tell anyone ever again.
Exactly.
On a show.
That is, I don't tell anybody about anything anymore. But I am happy that happened early on in my TV bookings because I think it put expectations in a much more reasonable place. So now not everything I book is like the thing. Like, this is going to be my show and all these episodes and blah, blah, blah. Like, I just accept it. I think I'm much better now at accepting whatever it is. And a booking is a booking. Great. Getting to shoot is getting to shoot. Great. And then if I make the final cut, fantastic.
Well, we've got a surprise for you.
Oh, God.
You're going to get to reenact your line you said to the president right here on this very show.
Oh, amazing.
Here we go. Cue the music. And action. I'm the president, and I'm very busy. What do you have to say?
Mr. President, you will declare war on West Angola within 48 hours, or she dies.
Cut.
Wow. Yeah.
At the end of every episode, we asked the actors what advice they would give themselves. And in Carlos Ciraliza's episode, here was his answer. All right, Carlos, you've been a fantastic guest. We loved having you here. I'm going to get you out of here on this question right here. Same question I ask all my guests at the very end of this podcast. And that is, what would Carlos Ciraliza now tell Carlos Ciraliza on the plane from Peru to Los Angeles for the first time? We're still here. He's just thinking.
Come out. That's the first thing you have to do. Come out. Be you. Don't be afraid. It's going to be okay.
Right when you get here, though, versus waiting.
Yeah, because I think I've wasted a lot of years because I was overacting, because I was acting to be a stray, and on top of that, I was adding the roles that were, auditions that I was having, and the moment I just accepted myself, not only just the sexuality, but just I accepted my everything that came in my package. Like I said, like my stinky feet and my baldness and my fatness, and it's like, this is what I got, and everything is gonna be okay. Even if I die tomorrow, I did my best with what I was given. I'm not from here, and I came from far and away, and I can't complain. I'm not a millionaire, but I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh God, I'm so fucking lucky.
Next, Hollywood casting director Karina Walters tells us just how she got into casting.
Do you want to hear how it happened?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay,
Chicago to LA, go.
I'll tell you. So I knew that I didn't want to do advertising anymore, but I did not know what I wanted to do. So it was probably a year and a half of researching different things that I was interested in, because Oprah said you should find what you love and then see if there's a way to make a career out of it, rather than like, what career should I do? Just like, what do you talk about? What do you like? And I like movies and television. And I would talk about actors and who was in what. So when I was doing all this research, I actually remember getting a book called Creative Careers in Hollywood, and it sort of went through all the different jobs that you can do on a movie. Because, if you watch a movie, there's obviously actor, writer, director, producer, but there's also hundreds of people in the credits. And I didn't know what everybody did or what it took to do those things. So it had a chapter on casting, and I was like, haha, this is it. My knowledge of actors is good for trivia and casting.
What it is? Do you remember what it said specifically that you were like, whoa? Like it just,
not specifically, no.
But it just spoke.
Yeah, it did. Again, I don't remember American history and dates, and that's not, that kind of stuff never stuck with me. But even if I haven't seen something, I can usually tell you who's in it and what it's about and what else they've done. And there are movies that I've seen that I don't necessarily love the movie, but I can really appreciate the performances. And likewise, if there's, a really great movie, it's usually the performances that throw it over the edge for me. Now, I'm not saying the directing and writing isn't important, but for me, like, that's kind of what determines if I really like something or not. And again, the psychology part of it, like thinking about who would be good in what roles. So just the way they described casting, I was like, I think I should do that. So I talked to, there's a couple casting directors in Chicago. This is before.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
During that year and a half you're doing your research, were you employed or not?
Yes.
You were? Okay,
Yeah.
Smart girl.
Were you still at the health agency? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
It's those people like, I don't like this job, and I quit. I'm like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm like, well, you should have kept the job while you figured that out.
No, I mean, I really had no idea. Like, I looked at things in psychology, but I was like, I don't want to be a shrink. I thought about something in music. I thought about moving to Ireland and being a bartender.
Really?
Like, I explored a lot of different things. And then it was like casting really just kind of kept coming back up for me.
And finally, Steve Holm tells us about the dangers of having the random
Los Angeles roommate. Was it a coworker or just a customer?
No, it was just a customer.
Yeah.
Just a customer that kept showing up, which was like, red flag right there. But you're like,
you have 17 computers, man. You sure want to buy it?
So I ended up night one, I ended up spending the night on the floor in that place. And this is all, by the way, within 6 months of me moving to Los Angeles. So I've had a place to live, lived in my car, been homeless, been hungry, had gym memberships going through. So now, cut to the first night staying at this place, and I'm throwing all my stuff into his storage bin that's in the garage or something like that. I bash my head on the overhead, they have cabinets up top. Bash my head, blood is shooting out of my head profusely, all over myself. I'm dizzy, what's going on? And he's like, oh my God. And he's freaking out, running around in a circle. He grabs his neighbor. His neighbor comes over, who was just a bro who worked at a sports network or something like that. He's like, cool. So we got the bleeding stopped, obviously. And I was spending the night. And all of a sudden, it was 2 a.m, and I wake up and I look up, and there's this guy standing above me. And he's wrapped in his blanket like a little kid. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, I'm scared.
Of what?
I'm like, of what? And he's like, can I sleep in here? Look, here's the deal. I was concussed. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I like to sleep. I was like, yeah, just lay down over there. I was just pointing generically and direct. Just lay down over there. And so he's like, okay. So he lays down, curled up, and he's 5 feet away from me or something like that, and I'm curled up in my bed and he's curled up in his whatever. And, I'm going back to sleep, and all of a sudden I hear this shh, 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 shh. And I open my eye. And have you ever seen that cat video where the guy he has the cat aiming down the hallway and his cat looking at him, and he moves it just to the other side of the doorway, and then he brings it back real quick, and the cat's all of a sudden closer but not moving. So that's kind of what's happening. It's hilarious. You need to look that up. It's like Stealth Cat or something like that.
Every time the camera pans
Yeah, I
over, the
gotcha.
cat's a foot closer.
So I close my eyes again, and I hear shh, and I open it up, and he's a foot away from me now. So now he's moving in on a tractor beam for Little Spoon. And I'm like, no. So then I shh, away, and then he it's closer, and it becomes this really slow Big Spoon Dukes of Hazzard chase scene. Where I'm moving, and he's moving towards me the entire time down the entire hallway. And so I'm I finally end up hitting. He has a dining room table type thing set up. So I hit the chairs on that, and I'm like, oh crap. And I hear it's like The Grudge. And so
There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
Corner.
No.
So I crawl underneath the table and set up a barrier with the chairs. And he's not looking while he's trying to spoon his way into me. So you hear he just rams into the chairs. And you're and he's just hitting the chair 2 or 3 times. And then it's finally he stopped. And then the morning came. And I was like, oh, I need to find a place to live.
Dynamite stuff there, producer Will.
All-star.
What a blast we had filming season 1.
It was fun.
And season 1 All-Stars are amazing. Before I go, maybe, Will, why don't you share your favorite moment of season 1?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, first thing that comes to my mind is doing the method acting with Annie Serdich, especially. She was hilarious. She's in the Groundlings. And you guys probably saw half of the method actings we did. She's just a nonstop laugh machine. It was great. Yeah, it was a blast.
At the end of every episode, we do a method acting segment, in case you're new to the show, where we give a scenario, and they give their answer as a character in that scenario. Brilliant stuff was made, but Annie's was definitely very funny. So, without further ado, we look forward to...
What about your favorite? Give the viewers what they want.
Of course. Two things come to mind. I think Mindy Sterling doing Frau Farbissina in the booth. What an exciting time. Love Austin Powers. But my favorite moment was probably from Rawl, just talking to him about behind-the-scenes stuff of Cool Runnings. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies, and be able to talk to him and hear the stories of set life and ideas and improv moments was amazing. So if you didn't hear that, go back and check out Rawl's show. Everyone's show, because everyone was amazing. I love all the guests the same, obviously. But those probably come to mind that didn't make the cut. So, season 2, video coming out very soon. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Robbie D and the Lesser Knowns. We also are on all the Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. Search Robbie and Lesser Knowns there. And of course, follow us on Instagram, RDLK_podcast. And we will literally be seeing you in season 2.
Robbie D and the Lesser Known.